Good morning, everyone. Or at least it's morning where I am at the moment, and when I'm recording this, it's just about a little bit before 7 o'clock in the morning. Um, but I wanted to finally give you a little bit of an update. Of course, as all of you know, for the past several months, I have been working on uh, kind of a little art project where I have been uh, building up the city or the town of Eggley, which in Betrayal at Krondor was a little backwater town. It was unique to Betrayal at Krondor, so it didn't come out of race books, and so it was totally unique to us. And so, for fun, I just decided that I was going to start kind of building out a what would Eggley look like if it was built with modern tools and with newer 3D models and that sort of thing. Now, again, I am not a professional modeler. I do this as a hobby just for the heck of it, and so there are a lot of you who are artists who say, "Well, wow, it could look a lot better than that." But for me, this is just just like someone who builds, model trains or other things in their spare time. This is just something I do for fun and to relax. And so what, of course, I have started on the whole town, but the past about month and a half has been focused on the inn, which is the stranger inn, which appears in the game. And of course, I knew whenever I first started working on it, because the inn it's a big structure. It has a lot of stuff going on, and obviously there was going to be a whole lot to it. And so I'm just going to kind of show you how things have progressed, because I had been kind of posting fairly regular uh, updates of screenshots and such from what I was working on. But I had been kind of in a blackout on that for the past couple of weeks, simply because I had kind of some small fiddly little details, but nothing that I thought was really that interesting by itself. It's more of the kind of joined together. So what you're seeing right here, of course, is Blender, which is the 3D program that I use for all my modeling. Obviously, there are fancier 3D programs available out there that let you do all kinds of amazing things, but Blender is free, and even though it can have a little bit of a steep learning curve, it's been useful for doing the kinds of stuff I want to do, and for my purposes, particularly for like low poly modeling and everything. There really is it really is a great product. So anyhow, so you can kind of see is the base model for the inn. I still have some stuff that I'm going to be doing to the exterior, but I have the windows framed in on the outside, and we see the back side here, and all those kind of floating vertices. So the Blender 3D modeling program, as I said. So I'm going to switch from this over now to Amazon Lumberyard. Now, Amazon Lumberyard is a game engine, so if you've heard of things like Unreal or Unity or things like that, those are game engines. And Amazon Lumberyard is an engine built by Amazon, which the reason I even kind of first started getting into Amazon Lumberyard is one of the people who is in charge of that development team, JC Connors, was also one of the game designers that I worked with at Cave Dog. Whenever we were working on a game called Elysium, so John Cutter and I. So anyhow, I'll switch this over to Lumberyard, and you can kind of see that it looks quite a bit different here, because we have a lot more in here than just the frame or whatever. So everything you're looking at in here is stuff that I have built. So all the assets, the only thing that I can't really take any credit for in terms of are the textures, because most of the textures are things that I got through a company called CG Axis. A lot of really great textures for things. There are a few exceptions. The little designs on the tapestries up there in the corner. I designed those tapestries, and sort of along the way, I may point out a few other things that I created. So, anyhow, we have the barrels here, and you can't really have a fantasy role-playing game today without having barrels or crates or some combination thereof. So, of course, in this case, I have repurposed my barrels so that after they've been used, they've been turned into tables, and so they've got little tablecloths on them. And I've got my bar stools. Now, technically speaking, bar stools as we know them didn't come into the existence in the 20s or 30s, but we won't talk about that. We'll just kind of pretend that particular fact is something. So you can see I've got my little staircase here, my fancy kind of banisters, and the cutouts here leading up to the second floor. The second floor is going to be something I'll be tackling soon. I'm not quite done with the first level here, but just to give you an idea of things. We have our wall sconces, with our candles burning in the wall sconces there. I'm really happy with this. It's because it's kind of in the shadows here. You can't see it as well as you would like, but this is actually, I think, my favorite thing I've built so far, which is a lute and of course it has the kind of multi-striped, so alternating cherry and pecan wood backing on it or whatever. But anyway, I'm really happy with the way the lute came out. It's actually one of the prettiest things I've ever modeled. So here are like I said, our bar stools that I created. Is like I say, we've got these little tapestries that I've kind of strewn around the bar. The design, again, because it's a little dark in here, but these were based on acanthus leaves that I kind of created a flower out of, and so here I created a dartboard for people who want to come in and play darts, and you can see that they just kind of have shoved the spares here into the top of the barrel. So we'll kind of go here behind the bar. You can see that I'm still the process of kind of populating these shelves, but for the most part, I've got some plates and a tankard. And so, interesting story actually about these plates is the fact that this is actually a design that in the small town where I was born is a town called Sapulpa, Oklahoma, and they used to have a major pottery outlet there called Frankoma, and so I actually created the plate designs based on a set of Frankoma plates that we have. So I just photographed the plates, and I adapted the design to use on the plates I created. So we have some tankards here. Because, again, you can't have a tavern without having some tankards. We have some of these bottles here. So another interesting little story here behind this keg here. So I have a cousin of mine who unfortunately we lost back in around, I think it was 2001, maybe it was 2002, but something like that. But Dean Halford was the Baron of the local SCA, and as far as I know, one of the longest reigning barons in SCA history. So he had a his name in the SCA was Talon K, and he has the emblem that was his house flag was this actual emblem right here. Now, to get even weirder about this is that long before I worked with Ray on Betrayal of Krondor, my cousin Dean uh, was associated with a role playing group here in San Diego, and those are the folks who created Midkemia. And so there is actually whenever you talk about the Pirates of Queg, and there is you can look at the map in Ray's book. There is a place called uh, that's named after my cousin, and so I felt that if I'm going to have and of course in the storyline in the game, before I actually knew that I had a cousin Dean down here, and before I knew any of that history, I had pirates from Queg who have had kind of taken over this tavern after the town was abandoned, and so this kind of is a way of paying respects to my cousin Dean and his influence on Midkemia, and again, so we've got a nice keg of Talon K's Quegan rum, and here on the counter here. So that's a little sort of inside private joke, not so private, but a little kind of a private nod to my cousin and his influence on Midkemia, and kind of a connection to this town. So I'm going to turn the camera here. We have when I was talking to my wife about stuff to put in the tavern, I was talking about, well, we need to have some wineskins. And so she had suggested maybe I should make Boda bags. And so I knocked out some Boda bags here, because you have to have a goat skin to drink out of. It's just sort of required. If you're going to be in the Middle Ages and everything running around, you need something like that. So I have a couple of them hanging up here that the innkeeper could sell or whatever. So I originally, when I first put this together, this was a solid wall, but I had the kitchens kind of arranged out back, but I decided to do a little rearranging of where things were, and so I knocked a hole through the wall, so you can now look back through from behind the bar in the tap room into the kitchen. So we're gonna go ahead and take a walk in here. So you can see we've got some more kegs up here, and some pillows, and have some bowls. You notice that I've got candles everywhere, and so I figured, well, they need to have some more candles, and so here's a candle box with a few candles there. Have a hammer, some spare linens, some vases for the tables, and again some more of our big bottles, and these particular bottles for Chianti are kind of interesting, because here in San Diego there's a place called Felipe's Pizza Grotto, which is one of my favorite places, and one of their special things is if you go downtown to the Pizza Grotto, after people have drunken them, they will often write messages on the outsides of these bottles, and then they will hang them up over in the dining area. And so this is kind of another private little thing. I felt like, well, I wanted to put these little Chianti bottles in the game. Simply because it would be kind of fun. Yes, again, kind of a nod to my favorite place here in San Diego to go and eat. So we'll take a step back over here. So the kitchen, of course, has its makeup table where they're prepping stuff. So they got some wheels of cheese. I did some research on different kinds of medieval utensils, and so these are all based on designs from medieval eating implements. We have some apples, some bread here. The other thing in the corner, again, if you played the Betrayal at Krondor game, they had the ration packs that were available. So you can see that they've been putting together ration packs here, and so they got them kind of stacked up here in the corner, ready for people. And of course, again, in the Middle Ages, you're going to have tons and tons of barrels and baskets, and of course potatoes, because potatoes are a staple of life for this time period, particularly if you're in Ireland or England or what have you. We have some just different containers for holding spices or other kinds of foods that you could put flour and other things in those mixing bowls, and of course some smaller drawers for other kind of food things. Of course, being that this is a medieval setting, of course the cook's boy is going to be sleeping on a cot here, and which is actually probably nicer than he would probably actually have. He'd just be sleeping on the floor. But I decided that we were a little more civilized, and so we actually gave him a wooden cot here in the back, and so he's got a bed that with a wooden bed with an old burlap sack, lying on. They've kind of laid out on top of it to make it a little bit softer. Of course, he's got a burlap bag for a sack that's his pillow. You can see straw, that's sticking out of the pillow, and I've got scattered on the bed here, so that he has some place to lay down. So we've got some burlap bags that still have flour in them. We've had kind of a little accident over here, so we're gonna have to clean that up later. But there's some flour on the floor, and of course, being that we are in a medieval kitchen, we've got to have stuff that we have baked, and so baking is important. So we have lots of loaves of bread. We have raw dough that's still waiting to be made up for things, and of course we also have some meat pies here, and a mixing bowl, and you got to have a long-handled spoon and a rolling pin there, so that they can roll the flour out, and some baskets, and some's got a loaf of bread there that's ready. We'll back up a little bit here, and you can see that I have some different implements here just hanging off of these racks that are suspended from the ceiling here. And so we have a frying pan and a ladle and a stock pot. And of course, the really important thing is we've got lots of wood that we've chopped up, and we've got sitting here in a rack. Some people asked questions about this dude. I didn't model the robot. The robot is something that is actually kind of the default character that you can use for your starter game whenever you're practicing and testing. And so he actually comes with Amazon Lumberyard. But he's named Bart or something like that. And so he's part of what comes with Amazon Lumberyard, but I use him as my sort of measure of things, and so to determine how big things are, or what he's my unit of scale within the game. So over here we have an oven. I don't have a door on this, so it would need to have a door, but this is an area for them to bake bread and other things like that. And of course we have a bread paddle that has some other name that I'm forgetting right now. And of course, obviously, if you're going to talking about this time period, you've got a big pot over a flame, and you've got cut up the logs here, and the flames going, and smoke, and the chains that those kettles were usually suspended on. Here in the corner, we have a butcher's block and a butcher knife. And some carrots, and then some hanging onions, and again we have some more racks here, and then of course we have a little board here where we're some more onions and carrots. We'll go around the other side here for a second, and you can kind of see this is the butter making station, because we got a butter churn and our milk our milk jug, and then you can kind of see is that he's been working on making some butter here, and so this is a medieval butter keeper. And so you can't see it really well here, but you can see that it's got a little, that's the cap end of it, and you stuff everything in the lid, and then you upturn it, and you fill this with water, and that's how you keep your butter in the Middle Ages. So of course, the way that I've imagined this area, of course, is that it is not just the kitchen. This is also an area where they do a lot of other maintenance for the inn, and so this is also kind of a laundry area for them. So there's, we have a broom. They've got a big tub where they're washing some clothes and drying some stuff on a line here. They've got their scrub board. That again is modeled on a French scrub board that I found, and so that's kind of their wash area where they're working on the wash for the inn, and of course naturally too is that they need to be doing dishes from the inn, and so got one of our plates in here and some of our silverware hanging out of here. This little bowl of soapy water that's right here. And so anyhow, this is the the kitchen by itself. Again, as I think I said before, is that I knew the kitchen was going to take a long time because it's just tons and tons of props and all kinds of stuff that's going on in here. But this is after about a month of just creating assets and messing with stuff. And again, it takes me a lot longer than it would take a professional person who does this all the time, simply because a lot of these things I'm kind of been teaching myself along the way. This room represents probably about 20 or 30 new techniques that I've learned just in the past month. And I'm slowly getting better and getting to know Blender better. But and like I say, it's a nice combination of things. And of course, I also learned, with this how to create the water for these for this animated stuff that's going on here in the water patterns and that kind of stuff, and how to make that work in Lumberyard. And the same thing here was creating textures and patterns so I could create the little fire around the kettle. So this has actually been a process of learning not just Blender, but also learning how Amazon Lumberyard works, and kind of learning both of those things together at the same time. Anyway, so this is the kind of the state of things right now. But I just thought that since I hadn't posted any stills or talked about any of this other stuff in a bit, I'd give you an opportunity to kind of see where things are and so on and so forth. I will probably take a short break from doing this for a while, simply because, of course, we are in the process of organizing and putting together a lockdown con, and that's going to be my priority for the next month or so. But also, too, is I have some work I want to do on the book. Some things are kind of cooking in my head right now, and this part of this was an exercise, is to just give my brain a chance to kind of reset for a little bit and do something a little bit different, because I tend to find that whenever I'm getting stuck on the book or whatever, sometimes it's good for me to step back and do something entirely different, so that my brain can kind of work on things in the background while I'm doing other things. And so some things have been kind of percolating back there, so I need to get back to work on the book. I'm definitely going to keep on going with this or whatever. But I just wanted to kind of show you where we were after about a month and a half of working on all of this other stuff. So, like I say, it's if you've seen the previous screenshots that I did, that's not a whole lot. It probably doesn't look like there's a whole lot that's different, but there's just lots of tiny little fiddly things. There's all these different items that had to be modeled, and in some cases I had to figure out new techniques to figure out how to make them, and also too some general things that I've done improve stuff. I improved the way candles look and the lighting inside the tavern looked, simply because the contrast was very sharp between the bright spots and the shadows, and I found a way to make that much better and make it look a little more naturalistic, so that it doesn't look quite so contrasty. And of course, we got some issues like this kind of weird flickering that's going on, and I also have some issues where here's a really good example of lights shining through walls, and I know I think I know what's up with that, but I need to do some more investigation to find out, so that candles don't shine through walls and things like that. But anyway, thank you for kind of hanging out with me during my little walkthrough of the tap room and the kitchen of the Stranger. And like I say, the next thing I'll probably be working on is down there in the dining area, because I'm going to knock this wall out, and there's going to be a chimney or fireplace for the patrons back over there, and then of course after that we go upstairs and we start working on the guest rooms that are upstairs. So anyway, thank you for dropping in and listening to this, and I will talk to you sometime soon. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.